Hello, lovely souls. Welcome to CosmoMuse Tarot and my weekly yes, no, maybe reading, where you can also just bring any kind of question. It doesn't have to be yes, no. I will be giving special emphasis to yes, no in terms of finding a yes, no answer. But if you just have a question you want some insight into, that's fine too. Just be clear about your question when you're picking your pile, that's the yes, no part is not something you need to listen to or take into consideration. So just sort of take that upon yourself to weed out. If you are bringing a yes, whatever question you're bringing, do be very intentional and clear about that question and how it's phrased before you pick your pile. If it is a yes, no question, make sure it's phrased so that if you were to get a yes, the yes would mean something positive to you. Okay, so that said, we've got 3 piles today. We have flower agate for pile 1. We have a clear crystal quartz cluster for pile 2. And we have aquamarine for pile 3. So tune in to these stones, and when you feel ready, feel free to go down into the descriptions. There are timestamps there, and you can jump straight to your reading. So I will see you guys there. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your Ask a Question reading. For some of you, that is seeking a yes, no answer. For others, it's just getting some insight and guidance. So you guys are the flower agate pile, and I'm just going to put your stone to the side here. So to start, I'm going to do a couple of oracle cards to get kind of a main theme message that Spirit is wanting to bring up in relation to your question. And then we will do some tarot cards to get the yes, no aspect if you're looking for that, and some extra guidance either way, whatever kind of question you're bringing. Okay, so let's get a few oracle cards out, or a couple. We're going to do 2. So Gateway. And then let's do a Moonology. And full moon in Virgo, you are good enough. So it's possible that something new is going on around you, or around this question, or something's about to be offered or is on offer. It does feel like some sort of opportunity, or you seeking some kind of opening or path. And either way, whether that's something you're seeking or something that's sort of coming to you, Spirit is wanting to remind you that like you're good enough for some kind of new opening, to not bypass it. Like I almost look at this unicorn, and I feel like this feels like trees on the very edges here that are creating kind of that gateway. But I feel like it's sort of on a path that could bypass that, right? Say like, oh, that looks like a cool gateway, a cool path, but I don't know if it's for me or something. Or like, oh, am I up for whatever that seems to be showing me? And the reason I'm kind of feeling it, because I've never read the gateway card in this way before, but the reason why I'm feeling like you could bypass that gateway, or like not take that gateway, has something to do with you not feeling good enough, or like thinking you're good enough. And the message from Spirit is saying like you are good enough. Okay, so let's get some tarot to get some guidance around this and into the yes, no aspect, if that is something you're seeking. I've got 2 cards here. 10 of Wands. of Swords. Oops, 2 just fell out. Temperance. Ten of Coins. And let's get one more. This one wants to come. Queen of Coins. There is such a drastic difference from the first cards to the last. And I feel like this is where you are right now, this 4 or 10 of Wands and 4 of Swords. And the 4 of Swords in this deck is interesting. A lot of times I'll read 4 of Swords as like meditative, but this one is almost like you're tangled, tied up in some way. Like it's way more painful than I usually see in a 4 of Swords card. And then 10 of Wands is like holding a lot of burden, holding a lot on your plate, overwhelm kind of thing. And I feel like these cards are saying these are the reasons why you may not either see or choose to go through the gateway, choose this opening, is like either you're currently overburdened or you look down that path and are like, oh, that's a lot of burden. That will be like a lot of responsibility and I'm scared. And then the 4 of Swords, kind of this, yeah, what am I feeling? This feels like holding yourself back. Why? Fear of it's not quite fear of success. It's fear of, I definitely feel fear here though with the 4 of Swords for some reason. Fear of change, fear of breaking out of, yeah, that's like fear of breaking out of a comfort zone. Like, oh, that looks like a lot. I'm comfortable right now, kind of thing. And what I'm getting with the other cards coming out is like, don't sleep on this and don't self-sabotage here. Like there's what's actually, this is like what you're perceiving about going through that gateway, what you think it's showing you. But this is actually what's on the, you know, once you were to cross that gateway threshold, what you'd actually find. And there's something about like, yeah, you're good enough. Like you have very fertile, productive energy. You have very fertile energy to hold purpose, to hold responsibilities. There's fertility, which isn't heavy. It isn't burdensome. Yeah, maybe there's a lot there and a lot of productivity to attend to, but it's not going to be burdensome and stiff, right? What actually happens is you know exactly how to hold things and how to make things flow on the other side of this gateway. You know how to make things move, how to make things circulate, and how to make things valuable. And you'll get everything you want if you go through that gateway. So hopefully this brought context and insight. If you just brought a question here that wasn't a yes, no, tapping into that yes, no aspect isn't, you know, if you've been listening to my yes, no's recently, sometimes there isn't like a clear cut yes, no. It's sort of like, yes, if it's the, you know, if you brought this kind of question, and no, if you brought this kind of question. I'm feeling that, again, it's not so simple, just there's not a clear-cut yes, no here. I feel like there's a choice you need to make. There's a decision you need to make, and it's up to you in some capacity. I know sometimes yes, no's, if you're bringing a yes, no here, there aren't like, sometimes those are very black and white, and it just is yes or it is no. But I just have to say what I'm feeling when I look at these and think about yes, no, is like, you can choose a no, and you can choose to stay in a comfort zone, or you can choose to be daring and break out of a rut and believe in yourself, that maybe some burden you're perceiving, you're more than capable of holding, and will actually feel more flowy like this than burdensome like that once you actually get into the meat of things. So I do feel this thing where it's like you have more control over the yes, no than you believe. And so hopefully that statement, if you brought a very black and white question here, that statement hopefully helps make sense if the context and insight didn't really apply to you. At least hopefully this statement that like you have more control over your question and the outcome than you perceive right now. And that's the best I can give you if this is a black and white yes or no, and there's no in between. For the rest of you, it should make sense what I talked about of like, believe in yourself. You should take the leap. You should choose a yes kind of thing here. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this was insightful. I hope it did bring you the guidance you're looking for right now. If this did resonate, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well, and wishing you luck with whatever you guys asked about, and I will see you in future readings. Hello, pile 2, my clear crystal quartz pile. I'm just going to put your stone over to the side. So we're going to get some oracle cards first to get sort of a main theme to something Spirit wants to bring up in relation to your question, what it's really wanting to address about, something Spirit's really wanting to address about your question. So we've got action, and full moon in Pisces, balance, spirituality, and practicality. So water on the action card and a water moon card. So there is something beyond the energy of action. There's also something fluid going on here. Balance, spirituality, and practicality. So it's not just all action. There is some calling forward of like trust and listening to sort of signs and synchronicities and taking action kind of based on where those currents and flows are kind of pointing towards. So there is this thing of like take action in terms of listening and being aware and taking some cues to around what's moving, what's pulling you forward, what's presenting itself, you know, it's like really paying attention. And then when you feel those moments of like really seeing those signs or feeling those signs or feeling inspired, it's like then take action on those. So like actively being aware and then actively moving in accordance to what you've become aware of. So I hope that makes sense. So we're going to move into some tarot now, which for those of you looking for the yes, no, we'll try to extract a yes, no from those, but also just getting some guidance around what's already come out too. Okay, so we got Page of Swords. Seven of Wands. Death, interesting. Let's get two more. The Lovers. Four of Cups. Okay. Very interesting energy. I don't know why I can't give you a pinpoint a card or a concoction of cards that are saying this, but I feel something circular happening here. Something happening over and over, or is there something deja vu about your question? Maybe it's this Four of Cups. But I think that circular motion, things repeating themselves, or some pattern that you're becoming aware of, you're understanding, you're witnessing something that's allowing you to transmute a certain pattern in your life, unearth what's really at the root of it, right? To move something. For some of you, whatever this pattern or circular feeling could have something to do with a competitiveness or a feeling of always needing to like this sense you have of like always needing to overly defend your position, overly defend yourself, where it's almost like you're overdoing it, right? Where there can be some negative response maybe to the way you overdo things or over defend yourself or over defend something. And it's like you're starting to understand, like see this, and then starting to understand where it's coming from and finding a little bit more self-love, like self-acceptance and self-love, and like softening of this energy, a better befriending of yourself and a softening of life and allowing life to be a little more. Yeah, look, so like these flowers in the Lovers versus these nails being hammered in the Seven of Wands is like the switch that's happening with the Death card. It's like you're seeing where you're overdoing something, and by seeing that, by witnessing and unearthing the root of that, you're able to relax more about something around your question and just like let things develop in their natural own time and trust that things will unfold beautifully, and like trusting yourself and trusting even others a little bit more too. Yeah, see, in this card also, like there's this trust, right, going on here, and this is like this need to be completely completely carry yourself, right? Whereas like this is more trusting of of others in certain scenarios. Yeah. So there's something going on about a softening, a better trust, unearthing a circular pattern, which I think is what the Four of Cups, where that came from. And interestingly, I'm feeling that the first card that came out is like the result of kind of what's starting to transpire with all we've just talked about. Is like the result is you starting to have like a better understanding of your mind, a better understanding of your interests, a better understanding of flow of information, flow of connection, flow of being more communal, like a new sort of new tendencies, new urges arising from within with you that feel fresh, that feel freeing. So in terms of, there's a lot of guidance that's come through here, but in terms of those looking for a yes, no, it's interestingly, like, I feel like we've talked about a story that just is playing out. And so I feel like because we land in a more positive place, there's a yes here, but getting to the yes is not going to be easy. You're going to go through some very transformative things. And so coming back full circle, again, the circular thing is coming up for some reason, to these top cards of action and the Pisces full moon. What's being asked of you to kind of go through the story we've talked about is active listening, active awareness, and then acting on what you've noticed, acting on the synchronicities. That's what will help you to move through these stages that seem to be unfolding, and getting to that place where there's kind of a very new, fresh impulses around mind and connection and information in you. Yeah, so ultimately a yes, not immediately a yes and not an easy yes, but there is going to be a yes, and when you get there it will feel great. Even if the story I outlined doesn't fully map onto your question, hopefully there's some metaphors in there and sensations that align with what you're needing to hear right now. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave this pile 2. I hope this was resonant and helpful. If so, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, subscribes. Those are easy ways to support. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. And good luck with whatever you've asked about, and I hope to see you in future readings. All right, see you guys. Hello, pile 3. Welcome to your Friday insight reading. We're going to get some insight, insight into a question you've brought here. We're going to do some oracle first to get sort of the main theme that Spirit wants to address about your question, and then we'll do some tarot cards to get guidance around that, as well as sort of a yes, no for those of you seeking that element. Okay, so let's dive in. Get a few oracle cards. This one wants to come out. Potential, beautiful, okay. And then let's get a Moonology card to go with this. And we've got void of course. Nothing will come of this situation. That's very mysterious. In tandem with potential. And then void of course. You know what? I want to dive into the tarot. This is giving me some certain vibes, but I don't want to declare anything quite yet. I want to get the tarot out and then we'll tie it all together. Okay, so we've got Magician, which feels very in line with potential. We've got Tower. Okay, interesting. This keeps tug-of-warring with me of like, oh, potential, oh, Void of Course, oh, Magician, oh, Tower. I'm not sure. I'm trying to get a hold on what that means. Four of Wands feels like some kind of central card. When I put it down, it felt like the anchor here, which is good. That is swaying some things for me, but let's get the last couple cards out first. And then, so Knight of Swords and Moon. I don't know, you guys, this is a very, very interesting orchestration of energies. So give me just a minute here. Trying to sense some things, feel into this. I don't think you guys are gonna love what I have to say here, but it's just what's feeling what's coming through is starting with this Four of Wands. I feel like whatever you've asked, maybe you're really hoping for some kind of potential in something new, right? And that could harken to the potential energy, the potential of some great love, or the potential of a new job, or the potential of a new house. With the Four of Wands, it's usually something to celebrate. It's usually something kind of rite of passage, something new, you know, the celebration of a marriage, the celebration of a new home, or some kind of rite of passage. And I feel like there's some kind of hope here around this, but I'm feeling some energy that's a little bit, if I can think of a softer word, I will bring that up. I feel like this word is a little too harsh, but it's the one that's coming up is like a little delusional. So I'm sorry about that. I do think like whatever you're asking about, there's an edge of delusion around it. I'm sorry. That's what I'm seeing is like, you know, there's all this hope of like, I'd like to manifest this, or I know how to manifest this, but then something falling apart immediately. And then we look at the Knight of Swords of like, I have all this eager, impulsive energy to go out in the world and take action and do something, followed by the Moon, which is shrouded in confusion and unclarity. So it's like you're charging towards something that's not clear, is what it feels like. It's like there's this general hope or general desire, but the specifics of it aren't there, but you're like charging towards it anyway. And that's not quite how things manifest, right? So it's just doomed to kind of not to fall apart, right? Pretty quickly. And so that's where the Void of Course is then picking up of like, wherever there's like some hope around this question, it's just like it's not quite grounded enough, it's not quite clear enough, it's not quite thought through enough, right? Like there's maybe some impulse that's not focused here and clear. And I wasn't, when I first put these down with the void, of course, I had this moment of like, oh, is this really going to be a no, like nothing's going to come of this? Or is this going to end up being this thing of like, you're scared nothing will come of it, but there is potential. But it's the first way around once these tarot cards came out of like, there's just something that's not clear enough, planned enough, practical enough, all those things, right? So as you know, if you're looking for the yes, no part, it's a no for right now. It doesn't mean that you couldn't, from this feedback, sit down and get more clear, think things through a little more. My guess is if you were to do that, what that hope is or what you're wanting to charge toward would ultimately shift anyway a little bit, because you would see somewhere where it was like, oh, that actually wouldn't work now that I've sat down and thought through this and tried to put some strategy into things and done some due diligence. I see where this just won't work, but oh, what if like I altered this hope in this way so it doesn't look exactly the same, but we're in the same genre of question, but it's just like with the new due diligence I've done and thinking through of things I've done, I think that this might be possible though. And so what I'm saying is there's a no to the specifics of your question. It doesn't mean you couldn't sit down and work with this and shift something to work that's a little different though. So depending on what your question is and, you know, but in terms to the very specifics of your question, if you're looking for a yes, no, there's a no. If you're just looking for some insight and guidance, you know, we've kind of gone through that. So this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope it was insightful. I hope that I didn't sort of, you know, don't take this reading of like feeling crushed about something with your question. Sit down and work with it. Sit down and get practical about things and really do some research and do some planning and see what you can shift and start to see actual potential in when you think it through, right? Because I do feel this underlying, like the genre of your question probably does have potential, but like the way you're coming at it right now isn't, it's a little, yeah, I mean, the word that keeps coming through is a little delusional. So just, yeah, get down into the nuts and bolts of it, do some research, spend some time to think things through and find the potential, find the way through to something related to the genre of your question that could work, with some foresight, with some planning, right? And clarity, with the moon coming out here with some clarity. Get very, you know, what are you specifically going for? Get really specific, right? Get really clear. Okay, anyway, again, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. If this did resonate and gave you guidance you need, I always appreciate support. Likes, shares, subscribes are always an easy way to do that. I'm also always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. And yeah, just wishing you well with whatever you've asked about. If you have the capacity, just sit down and think it through and be adaptable and flexible, right? There is potential somewhere. You can make something happen, just not specifically what you asked for. So anyway, wishing you well with that, and I hope to see you guys in future readings.